Let's light the tires and kick the fires.
It's not working for you. Wow.
Cue W3 radio music.
When you want the taste of a truly great beer.
What's up, everybody? It is another episode of W3 Radio for Monday, October 9th, recorded Sunday, October 8th. I am Michael Schofield.
I am Dave Gillhepsy.
I'm Dan Sims.
We have kind of a light news week this week, so let's just let's burn through those releases, and then we'll get to our headline, which we're going to bury. Shopify just released a new draggable JavaScript library. Seems
what's it called?
Seems cool. Why? It's called Draggable, lightweight, responsive, modern drag and drop library. The big thing here is that it's supposedly super accessible, and it's kind of neat. I think the accessibility claim is both bold, but also encouraging. If anyone can pull it off, Shopify can.
Yeah, I've heard some takes on Twitter about the accessibility part of it, saying that there's some great accessible features to it, but that it's not accessible to keyboard users. So that could be, it's open source. That could be a great opportunity to beef up that library and make it even better.
From a developer standpoint, it has a pretty nice API, though. It seems like a nice kind of wrapper built around like the native events. It seems like to take like a nice like object-oriented model, and it seemed really easy to kind of like dig into and get started. For like the half hour, 45 minutes I spent playing with it.
Right.
Like you said, it's open source, and it is October, which means it's Hacktober. Segue, Mike.
Excellent segue, Dan.
God damn it, Mike.
Things go better with Coke.
Excellent segue, Daniel. DigitalOcean has launched Hacktoberfest, a month-long event supporting open source, and which those participating can earn a limited edition T-shirt.
So the gist of how this works is you just go to hacktoberfest.digitalocean.com. You authorize it with GitHub, and then all you have to do is you have to make 4 pull requests. I don't know if they need to be merged.
Nope.
Between
October
during the month of October,
and 31st, right?
So you make your 4 pull requests. They just need to not be reported as spam, and then they will ship you a T-shirt. And if you don't know where to get started, they have dozens and dozens of projects with open issues. Basically, anybody can go into GitHub, mark any issue with a label called Hacktoberfest, and then it'll just show up on this website, basically just posting like a bounty board. And then if you complete any 4, they don't even have to be these 4, it can be any 4. So if you have your own repo, you make your 4 pull requests, then they're going to ship you a T-shirt.
Yeah, I don't know how long they've been doing this, but I know at least last year they did this as well. And I didn't hear about it last year until a day or two before it was over, so I kind of missed it. So this year I'm trying to get that T-shirt.
Yeah, I opened up on one of my repositories on GitHub. I started an issue and I labeled it Hacktoberfest, and already had like 2 people kind of like commenting on that they wanted to help out. So it's pretty sweet.
This is also a pretty good excuse to kind of meet up, like especially if you happen to be kind of like a weekend dev, you're in school or this is your sideline, or DigitalOcean is kind of like organizing all of the local meetup bases too. And I know down here in Broward County, there's several Hacktober meetups kind of like throughout the month. So it's like it's a really cool excuse to kind of like refocus our attention on sort of the open source community, which of course is the backbone of a lot of what we do and a lot of the progress we've made on the web in the last decade.
We hire a lot of interns. I'm involved with, usually like interviewing a handful of them. And like the one thing that we look for that sticks out the most is like if you're at college, but you've done stuff on GitHub and you've committed to an open source project, even if it's just documentation or a unit test or a small bug fix, like that's like you're immediately getting in the door.
Something you just said that's really important. It doesn't so much matter like the scale or the scope of your participation in like GitHub and open source. It's that you participated, right? That you're out there.
Yeah, so for my project specifically, I just opened up issues asking people to, start working on a cookbook. Like, how could you use this library to solve some common problems? Because right now it's just basic documentation, but I always feel like having examples of how you used it would be more helpful.
Yeah, this actually kicked me in the butt a little bit to clean up some of my open source repos, because encouraging someone to contribute, but then not having good documentation for how to contribute to my library makes it really difficult. And so I threw that tag on a couple issues on some of my open source repos, and then realized right after I did it that, wow, if somebody actually tried to come in and do any work on this, they'd probably have no idea how to get started. So because they're things that
a contributing markdown file,
right? So yeah, I'm working on building out a good contributing .md file to have in there so that people can actually jump in and work on it. Yeah.
Do you want to self-advertise what you got out there?
Oh, I have a kind of low-level CSS framework called Scales CSS that I put a couple issues up that are easy to do, but then I realized I don't have any notes on how to do this, how to actually contribute to this library, because it's not always obvious. You could figure it out probably, but it's not obvious.
Supporting dreams, instilling confidence, sharing your life.
There's a security app called Keybase, and as of October 4th, they launched something kind of neat called Encrypted Git. Quote, every now and then you want to make a repo that's private, not for necessarily an open source project, but for other stuff. Research, writing a novel, family history, or a community's private files. And so they've created a means to encrypt your
Git history,
repository. Yeah. One of the reasons people pay for GitHub is for private access. If everything's encrypted, maybe there's not a...
I wonder if it's all or nothing, or I wonder if you can just choose to encrypt certain things. So like if you did just want to, for development purposes, publish some keys or something, or you have a config file, you can just encrypt it and ship it, then it doesn't really matter. I don't think it's going to eat at GitHub's business model too much, because if you're encrypting it, you're not working on it with other people, and you're not taking advantage of things like, Git code reviews. And I imagine a lot of people who have private repos are doing them with other people, and especially because some of GitHub's competitors have like a free tier anyway, which is completely private. Like what's Atlassian's?
Bitbucket.
Yeah, Bitbucket. So Bitbucket, I think you can have like 5 free repos, something like that. You can even share it with several people.
Yeah, Bitbuckets, you can have as many private repos as you want, but you're limited on contributors.
Okay, so I think you can only have like 5 or so contributors. So I use Bitbucket for all of my personal things, which are like my dot files for every time I break a Mac and have to get a new one, so I don't have to like rebuild my ZSHRC and VimRC and all that jazz. But all projects go on GitHub because I want them to be public. This makes me think, well, maybe I'll just use Keybase and encrypt all the things.
What would that actually look like? Would you go, I would see that you have a repo and I would go to your files and it would just be like gibberish? Or would it make the files unreadable in GitHub? I wonder what it actually looks like.
I don't know. Maybe we should have experimented before we talked about this.
AOL Instant Messenger is shutting down.
This one, for one, I was surprised to hear that AIM is still going. But this one brought back a lot of nostalgia feels, right? Because we all were in high school in like the early 2000s, right?
I was in college, but it still counts. I'm a little bit older. Not much, yeah. But it's the same feelings. There's an article where a guy was like reminiscing about, AIM and all of his, and everything he said was like, yeah, that was like exactly my entire like high school and college life. We didn't have texting. We didn't have like Snapchat and Instagram and all these other ways of communicating with like, our crush and our friends and all this stupid stuff. And talking about status messages and how we used to, we'd set depressing dashboard confessional lyrics and stuff in there, and real obscure stuff, and just to get somebody to comment or to send us a message seeing how we're doing or whatever, because we've got some cryptic depressed sounding lyrics on our away message.
Do you remember like the icon and like how much time you would spend trying to find like the right like animated AIM icon that you could put in there?
Oh yeah. My avatar in AIM for basically the entire time I used that app, which was many years, was Bubbles from the Powerpuff Girls. So
It's respectable.
yeah.
This shutdown was announced with the most depressing of headlines by Michael Abers, the vice president of communications product at Oath. He announced this saying, "One last away message," and then went on reminiscing about kind of like what we were doing now, that if you were a 90s kid, you know, chances are there was a good point in time when AOL Instant Messenger was a huge part of your life. So for me, like, it was a stepping stone into kind of an alternate. So I have to admit that I used AIM only until I discovered two others, which I used interchangeably. I discovered that there were chat rooms on yahoo.com, the Yahoo chat. And then from there, I had a group of friends who went to ICQ. AIM, when I think of it, it takes me a little bit before high school. Like, AIM started, I guess, in like 1997. And I remember my first personal computer, my own computer, not like my family's computer, but my computer, you know, in my room with dial-up internet. Using kind of like the AOL disk at the time. And I had to create my first username. And I had called myself, after my computer, Vio Space. And, but like, life changed for me when I visited New Orleans with my dad, and I saw this groovy bumper sticker that said "Born Again Voodooist."
Yeah.
And so I changed my username to Born Again Voodoo. Except that I had hit a character limit and I could only be Born Again Voodoo, which became a username that I carried with me deep into my darkest gothic high school years. Yeah. And I even renamed myself for a brief time when I was in a goth band to BAV, B-A-V, short for Born Again Voodoo.
Wow.
I can attest that is 100% true. I can't even remember what my AIM usernames were.
I'm kind of tempted to download it and see if I can log back in. I don't know if I'm sure I don't have the password anymore. It'd be fun.
You haven't been using the same password since junior high. You're supposed to change those.
I think I still remember like friends' names and like that some of my best friends or things like that. I could still remember what their AIM names were to this day. Like that's impressive. I think that something like that, I haven't used this app or seen those names in like a decade at least. And I still remember like my best friends and my girlfriend in high school or everything's like that. I remember all of their AIM screen names.
So this is officially shutting down December 15th, 2017. I wonder if on December 15th, we could log in and down.
I might have to come up with a new name though, but
no, you got to go back. You got to keep it.
If Bav can get in, then I can probably he can find my name and I can probably get in.
Guys, I just logged in to AIM. They have
the real question is: anyone else on?
No one's online right now.
Right, so there's not like somebody there. They heard like the door opening sound, like that creak.
I wish.
And they get super excited. That was me when I was like in junior high. Like, one of my friends logged in, and a Pavlovian response. I would like run to my computer to see if one of my friends was around to talk to.
That's one of the things about AIM now. Like the sounds were everything, man. Like, like there's so much nostalgia in this app. Wow. The reason that I'm able to log into mine, as you, that I'm using the exact same username now as I did back in the days that I was using.
Yeah, you know, SW16.
Yeah, right. Yeah. It's exactly.
So let me change my password. But I just logged into my my AIM. So Dan, are you possibly PoneStar05?
Yeah, that's it. That's also my Valve name, which so I must have created a new one because I created that when Half-Life 2 came out, which was what, like 2002?
Oh my gosh, I found
Okay.
I found an old girlfriend's one. I'm gonna be. Hold on one second. Sup. if she ever
Oh, wow. That's a great idea. I should go on and just send messages to all these people. And maybe they'll see the news that it's closing down and log in, and then they'll get all these messages from me. That's a great idea.
Google launches a companion, I guess, to its Firebase called Firestore. Dan, you seemed pretty excited about this.
Yeah, so if anybody is a Firebase user, which is popular amongst the mobile app guys and some web app guys, they have, I believe, Firebase Real-Time DB already, and that's sort of a JSON store. Where you can just throw JSON and get it back at like keys and values, but then you are kind of stuck with like searching your own JSON if you have like a nested hierarchical structure. But this new database, Firestore, slightly confusing name because everything is Fire something or other, but this is a key value store where you can have collections or documents, and it can go as nested deep as you want. So you can have a collection of documents. That document might also have sub-collections with sub-documents in them, or they might have sub-documents, etc., etc. So you can create any structure that you want, but you get the benefits of being able to query on sub-keys of your structure, which if you have big structured data might be a little more useful than just, slapping some JSON and getting all that JSON back.
I suppose it's our duty to note, although it happened in 2012, that discuss the comment alternative to many comments section was hacked, and 17.5 million accounts had been breached.
Guys, I'm a name. I did it. It was a password that I've used since high school. I don't see anybody else on though. See, now I'm seeing everybody's like real names, not just their. I don't know who this is, but I had Dead People Are My Hero. Supposed to be another one. Draconia 7. Here's my brother who was Monkey Fling Poo.
Reported by Jeff Chandler on October 6th for WP Tavern, Discuss, a comment management and hosting service, has announced it suffered a data breach, a snapshot of its database from 2012 with information dating back to 2007, containing email addresses, usernames, sign-up dates, and stuff like that, in plain text were exposed. Quote, CTO of Discuss, Jason Yan, announced that, hey, as a security precaution, we have reset the passwords for all affected users. We recommend that all users change passwords on other services if they are shared. But at this time, we do not believe that this data is widely distributed or readily available. We can also confirm that the most recent data that was exposed was from July 2012.
So hopefully you've updated your password since 2012.
Well, apparently we haven't, because we all were able to get into our aims.
PHP 7.1 and Node 8.4 is now available for AWS Elastic Beanstalk.
Elastic Beanstalk is basically this like orchestration tool for AWS, and it was kind of getting behind on some supported versions. PHP 7.1 has been out for like a year now. Node 8.4 is actually relatively new. 8.5 is the latest, so whenever 8.4 came out. So now they have, the newest versions almost of Node and PHP, so that if you want to run those services, just, a few button clicks on AWS, and it'll fire off and create the environment for you, so that you don't have to spend as much time dealing with server administration, and you can just push code, which is always good if you're a developer and not a system administrator.
And finally, perhaps the most important news, not just of the week, but of the year, Good news, boys. HTML 5.1 second edition is officially a W3C recommendation.
I had no idea that there were additions, so that's great.
Can we come up with a true sign-off phrase that we'll use every time? As in, like, that's the way the cookie crumbles. Or
I don't think we can do that. I think that's all we have for you this week. Keep it kind of simple.
And that's all the news we got for you this week. I'm Michael Schofield.
I'm Daniel Sims.
And I'm Dave Gillespie.
And that's the way the cookies are stored.
Baby.